Okay, welcome to chapter 9 of Doing Imago in the Space Between. This is kind of funny. This is my book jacket. It is well loved at this point by chapter 9, and my book is mostly naked. But it's been really fun to follow the book with other colleagues. And so welcome if you're watching us uh later. And I think we'll have more people popping in, but it is summer and people are on their vacations. So, but chapter 9, the process of connecting, and Linda and Michael were and I were already remarking on how rich this chapter is. So it actually begins with the story of three couples starting Imago relationship therapy in part three, kind of almost like a little prologue for part three. And then we get into what is Imago dialogue. So I think we'll just kind of start from these first couple pages and get into it, but feel free to share whatever is on your mind. Yeah, Michael.
I would actually like to go back to the very last paragraph of the previous chapter. Not the prologue thing, but or
Yeah, but chapter 8.
the second to the last paragraph in chapter 8,
Yes, please.
which talks about a little bit like the plants the seed about, the chapter was all the different developmental stages and the issues, sort of the patterns that show up in each developmental stage. But this last second to last paragraph highlights that, we're wounded and our defense mechanisms and survival techniques are potentially more than likely opposite. And but what it highlights is that whichever developmental stage our core wounding is at, as we heal that, we then get the huge opportunity to work on the next developmental stage and
Yes,
our and our subsequent defense mechanisms and survival techniques.
that's right. And
Um,
not necessarily in chronological order. That whatever developmental stage you're working on, like let's say you're working on like a developmental stage around independence and identity. When you finish that, you may not move forward to the next chronological stage of, like, say, I don't know what the next one is, it's competency or whatever, but you could go back to attachment at that point. Like, it's very fluid what your next project will be as a human. That those developmental stages are not so linear, but it's helpful for us, to think about them in terms of progression. But yeah, it's interesting. You may finish some competency work and then go back and do more attachment around trust work with your partner. So I think that's really important that we not assume that we're going to go chronological.
Biological.
Yeah. Could
Okay.
happen that way. But yeah, that's the good news is that the work doesn't stop.
But that I understand completely
Yes.
and have my own experience of. Um, I found it interesting to sort of the way it's framed is like you finish in quotes,
Yeah.
you deal with this, now you move on to dealing with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, it's been humbling, I think, because the more Stephen and I work, the more we have found there's work to do. Like, it's we transformed the relationship, but there's still more ways that it is there that we're working to transform it.
So I asked this question before, and part of the reason why I'm at least focused on the developmental stages is I asked you way back a long time ago that like how much do you as a therapist pay attention to the developmental stages and have them in your mind and are noticing like do you even call out in your own mind if you don't call it out to the couple, okay, you just dealt with an identity thing. Oh, now you're dealing with a competency thing, or now you're dealing with attachment or, earlier, like,
Yeah, I love the way you're talking, Michael, because I think it's really important for us to ask that question. Is there value in me saying my story? Who knows if that's true? Is there value? Can I encourage that couple? Can I normalize that? Yes, you've done a lot of work and there's another piece here. And how would I do that? Part of it is framing it in my own mind so I stay settled in my chair and keep the energy going between them, right? Like for me to wonder, I wonder if there is a piece of attachment in this current challenge around who's going to stay home when a kiddo is sick or where we're going to go on vacation or like what is it that they're talking about and what are the different developmental pieces or the needs, what does it mean to them, and that would guide some of my sentence stems that might help me guide their conversation into and what this means if we don't go on where I want to go on vacation, or what this means if I don't retire this year. Like, what does it mean to them? What do they want? What are the needs that they're worried about? So that would guide me. Um, and we might weave it into a centering at the beginning or the end of a session to just encourage them. You're working so hard. You've already grown and healed each other in really significant ways. And there might be another challenge that you're going to tackle, but you're going to do it together, kind of encouraging them. But this is an important question. Some couples might really need us to teach, frame it in a certain way. And other couples, I might not say anything, but just um, for me, it helps me have empathy. Like, oh, there's some really young wounds here. They're really tender wounds. So I'll just go slow.
the teaching part, um, in my work, I the mental models and models in general, it are kind of like maps, and it helps a lot often to just to basically say on a map, I am here, and I want to go over here, but I am here.
Exactly. Yes, and I think our map is a little bit like Chutes and Ladders. Some people might not be as old as I am. They might not know that game, but you get somewhere and then you go down the slide and you go back and then you get some big jump up with your ladder, and the map looks a little bit more like that, I think.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But it's still, we need the map. We
Mhm.
need the map to know that there's a starting and there is a progression. Yeah.
Thanks for indulging me on that.
No, no, thank you I love that you ask these questions. Linda, you want to add anything? I saw you nodding.
No, I understand a brain that wants structure and order and wants to be able to predict. I so desperately understand that type of brain. Um, but I also understand that usually that thing that you want so much of, uh, your growth edge or your growth process is gonna probably be have something to do with that unraveling, being able to hold something different from that, so
Yeah, beautifully
you need so
said.
much structure, you're gonna have to learn how to not have any structure and roll with it.
Yes, this is what it's like for Linda and I to be together. She's like, "Oh, Michelle, where's your structure?" I'm like, "Okay, you're right. I got to work on that. I got to grow my structure." Um, okay, so I'm going to read just some things from this first page that that I loved. So Harville and Helen are talking about monologues and how they work, and they articulate the problem from our perspective is not communication, but the relative position of the speaker. So, really thinking about the position of the speaker, meaning, are we truly on the same level? And and then they go on to talk about how even if we're on the same level, that might not be the position still. But at least thinking about uh, hierarchical versus vertical communication.
Are you
Many
on
t
page 190? Where?
uh yes, page
Yeah.
190, right in the
Yeah.
middle of the paragraph.
Okay.
And then they talk about how if someone is sort of claiming, owning the truth and claiming the truth. So this is a form of communication we're used to hearing from political leaders, teachers, bosses, where they say, the room is hot, period. I am the ultimate authority. I claim my experience is the truth. And that there's only a one way to respond to that kind of thing, which is you either turn away and reject it, you turn toward and confront it, or you try to shut down the communication entirely by just checking out. So they conclude that paragraph by saying, and there we have the human situation, the oppressive use of language.
Yes.
Beautiful, right? So then they go on to say that basically all these ways of communicating are just examples of parallel monologues. And I'm going to just jump over to the next page, actually, page 192, I think. No, no, I'm sorry. It's 191. At the end of that paragraph, first there was monologue. At the end of that paragraph, they go through how couples therapy approached communication was basically through basically getting better at parallel monologues. So
Mhm.
most of the approaches in the new marital therapies, this would be probably in the 70s, 60s and 70s, involve teaching couples new behaviors and skills for improving communication, especially negotiation, conflict resolution, fair fighting, and so forth. But even the best of these approaches did not modify or acknowledge what amounted to their major barrier to intimacy. The implicit and explicit vertical arrangement in which the two persons operated like two individual entities, negotiating a quid pro quo arrangement as in a business rather than partners co-creating their lives together. I just really related to that. I feel like all of my training in graduate school was about fair fighting and, how to help the couples fight fairly or negotiate or compromise. And it really wasn't this paradigm of like, they're on the same team and how do we help them support each other in a process that they're in. So I love this. I just wanted to highlight that. Anything you want to say about that, or did you relate, or different perspective?
I
The thing,
highlighted similar. Sorry, Linda, go ahead.
well, the thing that I often think about and explain is because my first career was accounting. So I explain to couples that I think couples get into a relationship thinking about contract law. In contract law, you need two meeting of the minds. So the assumption is I'm getting into this relationship, we're going to get on the same page. And we're going to start thinking alike. And the problem becomes when the other person don't think like you, and for the life of you, you can't get them to think like you. So I tell them it's not contract law. It's about, so it's not the meeting of the minds, it's the meeting of the hearts. So as long as you keep that in mind, you want to meet them at this level, not the head level, and how the dialogue is the tool that we use to help them to get from the head to the heart.
Mm,
Very
love
lovely.
it.
Well said.
Hmm. Always like being taken to church with you, Linda. Set me straight. Um, yeah, and then this was interesting. I don't know if you were struck by this. It's on the bottom of page 190. He's quoting the quantum physicist David Bohm. I'm like,
Mhm.
I've got to look up this reference. He said that what he stated was dialogue is not trying to get anything done, but a process that creates a context in which two human beings become transparent to each other in a way that both are changed by the process.
David Bohm is, so in my work, David Bohm created a process called dialogue. And in the David Bohm dialogue process, it's groups. Um, and it is simply, there's no end really. It's just to expose mental models. It's just to allow each person to continually expose their mental models, which basically evolves the group.
Yeah. And he was
Uh,
a quantum physicist.
yeah.
I want to have dinner with that guy. Amazing.
I have
Yeah.
friends. I have friends that have a David Bohm dialogue group once, either once a month or once every other month. Anyway, I've been attending those. It's quite interesting.
I love it. I love group work, and it is really miraculous what happens either between a couple or in a group.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's something that when it's safe and people are really showing up with their presence, there's just amazing things happen.
I'm just going to text my friend as we're speaking and see if I can if there are rules.
Oh, okay.
I want to see if I can get because I don't know that there are. She always says there are no rules. You just get together and talk.
Yeah,
But
well, there's
I want to
probably
find
some
out.
structure,
There's got to
right?
be something. Yeah.
Yes. And then I want to read a little, starts at the very bottom of that page. While agreement is not necessary, the experience of shared interiorities without judgment is so profound and impactful that each is inevitably changed by it. So that something miraculous happens and agreement occurs in the transformed state of genuine connecting. And I love this so much. And one thing that I have found is that we can't fake it unless we are really truly exposing our interior world and we're truly entering the other person's interior world without judgment. We don't get the miracle. The magic doesn't happen. If you just robotically go through the dialogue, it doesn't get there. It requires this genuine surrendering of my world and the vulnerability of sharing my experience to create that physics, the connection of those two worlds. And yeah, it's just that's the magic. And I feel like when people go through the training or they go to a workshop and they experience this magic, their brains just like, I mean, nowhere else in my entire life have I experienced this, and I can't find where else I can experience it. And it's so healing. Yeah, it's so beautiful. But it's hard to convey that without people going, "Are you in a cult?" Oh,
True,
no, no, really. But
true.
Were you reading from a particular place, or you
yeah, so
were?
this is at the very end of page 90 and the top of 191. Yeah. Yeah. Such a beautiful explanation.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, and I like how he's connecting the monologue to the individual paradigm and the dialogue to the relational paradigm. Because I often say to the people that I work with, you can be mirroring and doing the dialogue, but if you're not actually in the relational paradigm where everybody's trying to make sense of everybody else, then you're not doing Imago. It's not a set of techniques or skills, although it looks that way, but it's really the position that you're in as the therapist, coach, and helping the couple get into those positions, like you're saying, Linda, heart to heart. That if they're not in that position, the dialogue can be weaponized, right? And
Yep,
it's not really about the tools and techniques.
it's true.
Yeah. And though that's the technology we use to get there,
Right.
you step by step, but
I just heard Cobus say we're not working to get them connected, we're working from the connection.
oh, I love that.
And when he said that, because it's like your first and foremost is to you have to know they're already connected,
That's
based
right.
on quantum. They're already connected, but you have to reveal that, help them to see that they're connected, and then work
Mm,
from that place.
hmm That's
Love
so
it.
beautifully done, beautifully said. Cobus is just so gifted with his words. And it kind of goes back to this quote by Boehm that we're not trying to get anything done. That our couples come in and at least one of them has an agenda, typically both, but certainly the therapist, I have to like kind of beat that out of the people I'm training. Like, no, 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 stop having an agenda, stop trying to solve a problem. We're not trying to get anything done. Again, working from the connection, just trusting that it's there, and they're both in pain because they're not aware of it yet, but trusting that through the listening and sharing, it will appear to them. Yeah. Yes, it's so beautiful. And it's such a sustainable way to work. I'm on so many Facebook groups where people are complaining about burnout, and I'm like, yeah, you really, this is such a different way of working. And I feel like it's actually changed the way I work with individuals as well.
Sure.
Um, that I'm not trying to get anything done, right? It's just two human beings
Mhm.
listening. In this case, with individual therapy, listening to them, but listening for their unmet needs, listening for their stretches, understanding that they're doing their best and that we don't have to solve anything.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
I just love this language. It's on page 191. First, there was monologue. This feels like a fairy tale to me. For eons, monologue and its vertical structure have predominated not only intimate partnerships, but also in virtually every other kind of human relationship. King and subject, lord and servant, father and son, political leader and citizen, priest and penitent, I don't even know that word, physician and patient, teacher and student, boss and subordinate. Like, this is basically why I think we need a whole relationship revolution, because we have to change all of those domains from the classroom to the boardroom to the office to the home, the political arena. We have to change the paradigm to say, no, we're all human beings and we all matter. And whatever I see in you is a growth plan for me. Whether it's I see you as better or worse or whatever, it's still a growth plan for me. Um, and what a different world we could get to if we can do that. Yeah, this book is so sweet.
Just to build on that, the sentence a few sentences later, that the hierarchical structure elevates the priority of the speaker over the listener. The priority, the speaker's priorities over the listener's priorities.
Yeah, I like that they say by design.
Yeah,
It's like, even if we're not conscious of it.
totally.
Yeah. And I'm still thinking about what you said, Linda, about how we hope that, or we just assume that we're going to get on the same page and you're going to think like I think, and then inevitably you're not thinking the way I think, and it's very upsetting and terrifying and annoying. Yeah. Yes. Hmm. Yes. And I think especially as a therapist too, like I have all these fancy ways of judging my partner. Yeah. Um, yeah, so then well, I really appreciate the summary of theoreticians, is that the word? The different theories that shifted out of this monologue medical paradigm, and we're introducing concepts to help us move towards where we are or where we want to be. I don't even think we're there yet, but Harville, to his credit, has been there for decades, at this paradigm. But um, Sullivan and Rogers and then Buber, and really crediting them. And this beginning of the first full paragraph on 192, they write, genuine dialogue takes place when the speaker and the listener attempt to understand the otherness of the other. It's almost like poetry. By putting aside their desire to change or control the other. It is in these very deep conversations where judgment drops away and a genuine effort to understand the intersubjective views of the other that both speaker and listener are made human. Each is changed by allowing the world of the other to occupy space in their mental and emotional universe. I mean, I was just like, to me, that's like having a rich cake with my coffee. Like, it's just,
Mhm.
wow, it's so beautiful. And I mean, this is the goal. And I know that for me personally, so often I catch myself of the way I'm thinking about my partner is so self-involved. And when I open myself up to his otherness and how precious that is, um, yeah, like it's something I have to do deliberately and very consciously to say he's different than me, and emotionally I don't like it, but it's my job to figure out how to protect that and to support it and to embrace it. Yeah, it's it's something really significant. And I was thinking about this, about how when I watch a television program, I do this, I allow this. I don't know if you do this, but like when I get into a book or a TV, I get really involved with the characters and I allow those characters inside me and they start to change me. Like my emotional experience of watching them think through something or interact, it changes me. So like I was watching Yellowstone, and Beth Dutton is definitely my spirit animal. If you know Beth Dutton, I was like, oh my God, like horrible, horrible. But like I so related to her, and I let that, watching that character, like I let it impact me,
Mhm.
and how can I bring that frame to my partner? How can I see his character and be charmed by it and love it and let that be like get inside me. But of course, we're attracted to the people that are holding all our lost parts that we rejected so we wouldn't have to hold them. So, of course, it's hardest to love those characters because those are all the ones I had to reject for my own survival.
With Beth in Yellowstone, I don't know, Linda, if you've seen it, but
Uh,
it's relatively easy, and they do a good job of setting us up to understand why she is the way she is and how she is the way she is, and to have some empathy, even though it's painful to watch and painful for me anyway, it's painful.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, there is a dislike and a love that happens simultaneously. There's a ooh and a
yeah,
appreciation that happens simultaneously.
right. And I would argue that's true love. That
Mm,
that is the reality of our partner is that, yeah, we're going to dislike things, but we're also going to love them when we understand why they are the way they are, which is why the dialogue is so powerful in is that it often reveals something about who they really are, not just, I could
mm,
take the same actress and cast her in a role and want her to act a certain way, right? And that's what I kind of do with my partner is I'm like, "Oh, this is who I want you to be." And I don't see all the pieces until we start to have a really deep dialogue and I have empathy and I meet him heart to heart. Now I it's a totally different experience. And that's what we get to watch happen in our offices, right? Is that softening and empathy when you see your partner's backstory. But I mean, Michael, you would be shocked how often couples come into our offices and they have no idea about their partner's history, really. They have
mm,
a few rough outlines, but not the emotional weight. And through a workshop or through the work in our offices, and they start to really know in their bones what their partner lived through, it changes to that love, still dislike, but love.
mm.
Yeah.
I think there's a complication that happens so going back to that figure, so you can see her and you can definitely understand her, but she's scary. When you come to, um, when it involves trauma, and so someone who has experienced trauma, you're living in survival mode a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and you see a character like that, and you're like, that she's dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way, you know, maybe she can get away with it, but it's like
Yeah,
you can't, you know what I'm saying?
I
It's
do.
different on
Yeah.
um, so many levels, it's like you said, you kind of let that get in a certain way you can, because you can feel sorry for her, like, wow, I do feel sorry for all the things that she's gone through, but
Oh, but she's horrible and scary, like you're saying.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like,
But I think that's how, at least in that TV show, and now we're end up talking about the TV show, but because her partner loved her and accepted her for who she was and didn't try to change her, I think that helped us love her.
mm,
And I think that that's the kind of love that at least I feel I am being called to give
mm,
is even when you're behaving your worst, I still love you.
Well, let's go to the place where she's triggering, or a person in the couple's therapy presents themselves and they're scary and they're
Yes.
triggering. They're pushing something in me that
Yeah.
is, it's hard to stay present in that kind of a present in that moment.
Yes. 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 No, and our clients are very good at exporting their terror into us.
Hmm.
When we're holding space for that couple, a lot of times we're feeling some of what they're feeling. Yeah. And so we have to breathe and go slow and stay grounded so that we can that's where the structure that you were talking about, Linda, it's like that keeps us safe and grounded because we're not just like, it's not a 50 minutes of the Wild West. There's like a beginning and a structure and a close, and we can always actually move to the close early. If we're terrified and they're probably equally, then we can just move towards a close and celebrate that we had a moment of listening and sharing and kind of
Mm.
unpack what we learned and what we hope for and all these things.
That's when it's important to understand that your job is not to solve anything. You're not trying to solve or fix
Right.
the person. You're just trying to create a safe space for this person just to be.
Yeah. And to listen and to share. I think that's really important. If both people listen and share, then it's dialogical.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm just going to add, so on page 192, in the next paragraph, in couples therapy, Imago dialogue helps partners differentiate by achieving awareness of how they are different and similar. And this is the key. And ultimately, which that ultimately word, it can take a long time, ultimately leads to acceptance of our distinct and personal subjectivities and our contrasting ways of seeing the world. Ultimately.
Okay, dentist.
Yes, trying to get there. Um,
Morocco.
Mm.
and this was really beautiful. This is the end of that paragraph. Through the dialogue process, partners can create a safe enough atmosphere for accessing and putting into language their unlanguaged experiences. And then they go on to say their thoughts and feelings, memories, and dreams. This allows all aspects of both partners to emerge and become fully integrated. And I see this even in the training when people get together with a complete stranger, but we're taking turns listening and sharing that um, that we start to find ourselves putting words to unlanguaged experiences that we didn't even know about ourselves until we filled in the sentence stem and it was mirrored back. And how profound that integration process is, that it can happen even with a stranger, just somebody willing to show up and listen to you.
I think that there's probably, I don't know now, but there's probably a lot to unpack in unlanguaged experiences.
Yeah, say more.
Um, because my initial where I went initially was those, I mean, you've spoken before about pre-verbal stuff, so that is unlanguaged experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so that's where my initial reaction to hearing that was going to places in childhood that had no expression.
Mm. Yeah,
And
places
I
in
think it's all,
childhood that had no expression. That's really powerful.
and I think I am hypothesizing that there's more to unlanguaged experiences than just the
The
um,
pre-verbal.
well, and the unexpressed. Because all through, I mean, I'm an old man and I have unexpressed presently.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, just today on the way back from surfing, we were talking about being like empty nesters, and uh just started listening to Stephen talk about his grief around Magnus and not, not having a little boy to raise or take care of anymore, and his regrets as a father. And so much of that just goes unexpressed because nobody asks or nobody's listening. It could be desires, sexual desires, dreams, fantasy. Like there's so much that we just leave alone in our head.
Mhm.
And when we express it and another person really hears it, that going back to on the top of page 199, the experience of shared interiorities without judgment. Just sharing our interior world without judgment is so big. And it's something that I think we all really long for. And when we get to
Yeah,
experience it, it's just like, it's that magic. And so, yeah, I agree. There's so much that we don't express.
did you mean 199 when you just said
Oh,
190?
did I say that? I'm sorry, 191.
Okay.
Yeah. The experience of shared interiorities without judgment is so profound and impactful that each is inevitably changed by it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, just and to me the format of the dialogue where I'm filling in a sentence stem allows me to access things even below my conscious awareness. You know, like what I really want from you is like, you know, all of a sudden I've discovered that there is something I really want. But if someone asked me, what do you want? I'd say nothing, I'm good. Right? So it's like allowing us to get to the unexpressed thought and try it on and have it mirrored back and have somebody really care if that's what we want to say or if we want to change it. Profoundly healing.
Yeah, I think of the unlanguaged as the things that it may not be safe enough. You feel the story you're telling yourself is that it's not safe enough to say that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but when it is safe enough, it is freeing to be able to say it and not have the bad thing happen. Because that's most of the time we want to say it because
Yeah,
think, oh Lord, if I say that,
that's right. I'll be judged, I'll be rejected, I'll be
I may
embarrassed, whatever. Yeah.
lose the relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's so key what we're talking about because it's not just that I said it, but it's that the other person mirrored it. Oh, Leslie's here. That's good. It's that the other person mirrored it back and in mirroring it, accepted it. Hi, Leslie. But then not only did they mirror it and there was some acceptance in them reflecting back exactly what they heard, but then they said, am I with you? Like, did I get it? Is there more? Allowing me to now make an adjustment. Maybe now that I voiced it, I have a different thought or
Mhm.
a nuance, or that it's the whole process that helps me create new thoughts and a new identity even sometimes.
I think what that's connected to what you said earlier, though, because as a person who has experienced mechanical um,
Mirroring.
mirroring, and um, so everything you just said works when we're in the experience and when we're in that space, and it doesn't work the same when it's mechanical or when it's just rote or you know, I know I'm supposed to,
Yeah,
or whatever,
exactly. Yeah,
whatever.
I'm a good little person showing up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to that first line we started with, Michael, the problem is not communication, but the relative position of the speaker.
Mm.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about, like the heart position of the speaker versus just a head position
Mm.
or a competitive position or whatever, uh, wherever that person's coming from. They're terrified, they're angry, they're
Mm.
threatened. That causes the reflection to be flat.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Hi,
know,
Leslie.
this may be too much information, but I remember the first time my wife, in the first couples workshop that we did, I remember feeling something is wrong. Something wasn't right. Something wasn't happening. And because I had taken the workshop before with a girlfriend, I don't remember if I'd taken more than one workshop, but anyway, there was something happening and I couldn't put my finger on it that like there's something not right here. And it was the mechanical nature of the process that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go down, it didn't go in,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad you're talking
some
about this,
language.
Michael, because I think it's so important, at least from a therapy point of view, like from the therapist position, to not panic when that's happening. And like Linda, you were phrasing it like working from the connection, knowing that there's fear right now as this person's mirroring, but that if we keep them in dialogue, it will start to soften. So to help them put into words what it's like saying this to you right now, what I'm afraid of, uh, what I would, if you thought, whatever you thought would, what would scare me, what kind of
Mhm.
thought you might have that would scare me, what I want you to think as I tell you this. Like we can start to help that person again voice what is unvoiced that's coming through as the flat mirror. Because when couples are first learning this, they say, "Oh, this is so awkward or mechanical," and what they're really saying is, I can't relax into the dialogue yet, which makes sense. Like it's like getting in a car you've never driven before. You know how to drive, but you got to learn how can I drive comfortably in this vehicle. Um, but but yeah, to me that's a good sign like, oh, we have to go even slower.
Mm.
And of course the workshops go pretty fast.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard to necessarily go slower in a workshop. Yeah. Welcome, Leslie. I was missing you. So good to see your face.
Good to see you guys too. Yeah.
We've only gotten through the first couple pages because it was so
Oh,
rich and dense.
the whole book is like that.
It's juicy. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So I mean, I shared pretty much all the further I got into this chapter, but at this point now they're starting to get into just the mechanics of the dialogue.
Yeah.
Anything that struck you, Leslie, or anything you want to share?
Um, well, I don't have anything in particular right now, no, but I was listening to the whole um what you all were just sharing about when people are delivering what feels like a flat dialogue. And I recently have like two new couples, like really new. And of course they're different. Not just the couples are different, but the two people in each couple are different, of course. And in each one of them is a lot more comfortable, quicker than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And um And I liked that idea that yes, that's a message that they're on, but they're there and they're doing it. And if they keep coming back, that's a good sign. If they're not like totally turned off by the dialogue or they keep complaining about it and complaining about it. Now, I've seen that too, and I'd be curious to hear from other people if they have had that situation where there's like one person who just continuously doesn't like dialogue, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
anybody does with them, or
Mm-hmm.
um, and then just doesn't. I mean, sometimes Imago isn't for everybody, I guess, but I like to think it is. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's a curious thing because every once in a while it's not a usual thing for me,
Yeah.
but
Well,
but I
then,
do see it once in a while.
yeah, and it's really important to address it because they're communicating something really important, I think. And so I basically keep them dialoguing, but get them to talk about the thing I hate most about it, the worst part of it is, the feelings that come up, what this reminds me of, to really start to understand what is getting activated in them by having to listen and share. I mean, this is like objecting to basic connection, but connection wasn't safe for everybody. And so,
Right, right.
the protest against intimacy and connection can make sense, but they have to, again, try to put words to what it is that they're experiencing other than just, spitting their food out on the floor. Like, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, join them. Like, yes, you're not alone. A lot of people don't like it, but why don't you just share with your partner more about that? And they don't need to mirror you right now. If you hate mirroring, they can just be expressing listening with their eyes for right now. But I mean, I would be looking at, does that person not like slowing down? Do they not like sharing the floor? Do they feel out of control? Like you're in control? Like what is it specifically that they don't like and helping them get to it?
And can they identify what it is they don't like for real?
Right. But they
Or-
will keep talking and eventually the unconscious mind does usually tell on itself,
Yeah,
eventually if they
right,
keep talking.
right.
Yeah, but my experience with the personality like that is one, it's such a gift that they're telling me they don't like it because most of the time they just sabotage and leave.
Mhm.
So huge gift if they're complaining. And secondly, they probably complain in every situation that they're in about hating authority, hating structure, hating whatever it is, and probably no one takes them seriously. So my gift back to them is to take it really seriously and to not stop doing dialogue. Like, I'm going to really listen to you. I'm going to take it really seriously. I'm going to ask to learn more. I'll make an adjustment for the dialogue until I understand what's getting triggered here. You
This
know?
this this may or may not relate and may again be too much information, but in my experience with my wife, um, I latched on early on. I latched on to the concept in the Mago dialogue that the one of the gifts I give the sender is allowing them to hear themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just that I'm hearing them, but oftentimes we don't hear I don't even know what I'm saying, or I don't hear myself, or whatever. And
Mhm.
I get the feeling at times when my wife doesn't like it that I'm mirroring, that she doesn't want to hear herself at that moment. She wants me
Mm-hmm.
to hear her. She doesn't want to hear her. It
Yeah,
that
exactly. I don't want to look in the mirror. I just want you to tell me I'm beautiful. Yeah,
yeah.
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 Makes sense. anyway, I think this is a really important thing to keep talking about, and particularly talking about each couple, because each couple would be different, right? The objection would be different. The response, partner's response to the objection. Is this a power struggle? I didn't want to come to therapy anyway, or what? Like each couple would be different. And also, based on those differences, it would come up in each therapist differently,
Mhm.
right? What do I make the objection mean about me? How does that relate to my history?
Mhm.
So I think it's just is why we just need to always be having some supervision with those moments to try to understand how much of this is me and how much of it is them. And
Mhm.
um, yeah. And is this a seduction into me
Mm.
breaking the frame? I think a lot of us can get seduced into breaking the frame and giving the objecting partner the attention
Mm.
and start mirroring them and start doing individual therapy with them versus keeping the energy between them and the partner and share your objections with your partner. If you don't want them to mirror, that's fine. They can just be holding presence for you, but not sharing it with me and pulling me into some kind of enactment.
That's very insightful.
Because sometimes it's a way to get attention from the authority figure. And we're
Mhm.
trying to get out of that role as an Imago therapist, right? We're not the doctor. We're not writing the prescriptions. We're not the teacher. We're not validating answers. But there's still the little kids in them that might want to pull us into that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can talk about me, but you're going to talk about me with your partner. You're going to talk about therapy with your partner. You're going to talk about whatever it is with them. That's what we're here to do. Yeah. So just going back to page 193, and Harville said this so many times, probably my favorite line. Our most surprising discovery working with couples was that talking is the most dangerous thing they do, and
Mhm.
listening is the most important or most infrequent.
Mhm.
And we also found this to be true in our own relationship. To me, when I think about Imago and our community, I'm so appreciative. Like we're all kind of romantic idealists. And, you got to die on this hill that like our past is present. That if you don't believe our past has anything to do with our current relationship, you're probably not going to fit into the Imago world because this is the hill that we die on. And sort of our kryptonite, I think, is sort of like we're sappy. We're romantic idealists, but then we're also can be like a little goofy about that. Um, but the other thing is like we don't have it all figured out. We're all have our moments. Some relationships are easier than others. I will just give people that. Like some people have that as a blessing in their life, but my relationship is the most difficult thing that I have ever done and ever will do. And I do think it's worth working on and fighting through, and it's mostly my own limitations. Um, so, the fact that Harville and Helen say, and that was true in our relationship, just brings me such warmth for them. Like, they're not up there in this expert role saying, we got it all together and we're going to teach you.
Have you taken a couples workshop with them as the
Yeah.
facilitators? Isn't it fun? I
I
I
found it overwhelming, but it was
oh
early in my career.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And I took other couples, my wife and I took other couples with us to Harville and Helen
Oh,
work.
that's a gift.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it was like, I think we went probably like 2003, 2000, no, 2004, something like that. And I was like, oh my God, thank God I had been in some Imago couples therapy first because the workshops really, there's a lot in there. It's packed. I think they do less now.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah. Um, so they tell this story, which I love. In the middle of a heated discussion, Helen became the de facto creator of Imago dialogue by firmly insisting that we stop and one of us talk and the other listen and take turns. Yeah. And so both of us felt such a decrease in our emotional intensity that we took turns listening and talking to the clinic. Yeah. And then going down a little further, the next paragraph, when a conversation is safe, partners can talk about anything without polarizing, no matter how challenging the topic may be. They can plan their lives, solve their problems, share decision making, and make love and laugh. When it is dangerous, they cannot talk about anything without some tension or polarization, and they will instinctively defend themselves, emotionally injure each other, polarize over issues, develop symptoms that can lead to catastrophic outcomes. That is how our social brain is wired. Its primary agenda is to stand against threat, which all negativity is, and to survive. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I know that it's hard when we, to believe this, that conflict really is growth trying to happen, especially when we see such intense polarization in our news and in our world, and, to believe, wait, but there's something important happening here. That this conflict is somehow going to get us to a place where we can grow and change and be transformed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to believe. Might not be true, but I'd prefer to try to believe it than to live in a world without hope. And I think that's what our couples come in with, is they want to believe there's hope and they don't, but they want to. And I think it's really important, what you said, Linda, to work from that connection means that we work from hope. We work believing that there is hope. Even if this couple isn't meant to be together, that whatever growth and healing process they're in is still valuable and worthy of attention and time. Because if they don't grow and heal in this moment with this person, they will just take that to the next situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think that's true, that holding that space of hope and somehow transmitting that so that the people hear it and take it in, or being a stand for that, is probably the single most important thing we can do.
Yes, that is the position. The hope is not that they stay together.
Right. No,
the hope is that they work through whatever this is.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Linda, will you share again for Leslie? Because I want to hear it again too. What Koba said about working from connection.
Yeah, so Kovas was saying that the point is not to work to connection when we have a couple, working them to connection. You want to work them from the connection. So it goes back to that the premise that we're all connected. So when the couple comes in, you have to understand that there is connection. It's about just helping them to find that connection and then working with that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And we're trained the opposite. We're trained to diagnose, which means we don't see the connection between the two. We see the individual and what's wrong. So the diagnostic frame is not working from connection, that's working already from disconnection. And it puts us in the Karpman triangle, which I think the Karpman triangle is the same as the individual paradigm. And I think it's important that we think about it that way and talk about it. The Karpman triangle, of course, Leslie knows it because it's really talked a lot about in 12 step, but it's the drama triangle. It's where there's a victim and there's a perpetrator, a bully, somebody in that role. And then there is like the rescuer or the witness. And whenever we're diagnosing people, we're putting somebody as a perpetrator, as a bully, whatever, as the person who's the problem. And then you've got a victim, and then we get to be the rescuer. And that actually puts us in the wrong position to work from a connection.
Right.
But so many of us, I think, grew up thinking this way. I know I saw my dad be a bully and my brother be the victim of my dad's abuse and put me in that position and train me to want to be a therapist, like because it felt so helpless to watch that. And so I have to unpack that history so that I don't get seduced into being the savior, the rescuer, the problem solver, right? And I really work from that connection between the two of them. Like, I'm just here to hold space and help you talk to each other in a new way.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's seductive. It's so seductive. And the problem is when we come from that paradigm, we need somebody to be a victim so we can be the rescuer. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot to recover from. We're all recovering from these paradigms. Yeah. And dialogue is our new vehicle that we're going to get used to being in. So I like this at the very end of page 193. At the basic level, Imago dialogue is two people taking turns talking without judging, listening without criticizing, and connecting around and beyond differences. That's a nice sentence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think within that sentence, it reminds me again that it's also very seductive to get involved in to get pulled into uh
The content.
the content, yeah, and that it's really, which drives back to whether it's flat or it's not flat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it was probably Maya who shared this first, and I so love it. It's just like our job is to love these two humans in front of us, you know, so that we can be patient and kind and supportive and like just trust that they're figuring some stuff out. And some feedback I've had to give trainees or in supervision is like, just let the couple make mistakes. It's okay if they make mistakes or what you think are mistakes. It's okay as long as it's safe enough, or they're willing to redo that moment, or they're willing to just keep moving forward. Like, we're not there to prevent them from making mistakes, especially around dialoguing. So if they miss something, they didn't reflect it well, or it doesn't really matter. It's like what matters is two people are trying and they're listening and they're sharing. And I remember in the beginning, I was just so rigid. I was like, no, no, now we have to do this step. And, you know, like it's okay if they make mistakes. That's not the point of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really funny you're saying that way, Michelle, because well, last Friday was our monthly Pennsylvania lunch get together meeting with folks in Pennsylvania who want to be involved, and we had Evie Schaffner talking to our group about the topic of um, what it means to really cross the bridge and empathy, and how do we encourage empathy. And one of the things she shared a story about when her and her husband, I'm sure she wouldn't mind my sharing this, um, that when she and her husband first went to therapy with an Imago therapist I won't name, that her husband, that the therapist was like, just wouldn't let her husband mirror the way he was mirroring in the beginning because she just kept correcting every little word. And she'd actually say, no, no, we're going to do this. And just how off-putting that was, like not, that's like negativity in and of itself. Yeah. And
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And I
So
was so
sure.
guilty of that in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning, meaning for
Me too.
years, for
Me too.
years, if
Yep.
somebody was criticizing, I would criticize them for criticizing.
Right.
It took me a while to develop the skills to sort of, well, first of all, see, did the partner seem bothered by it? Like, because maybe what I think is critical isn't critical for that system and that person, or like, but then also like how to just help everybody slow down, take that as a sign the person's dysregulated,
Yeah.
and just see, kind of be more gentle with it instead of like correcting the criticism, right? Like, how can we just work with what's happening? Um, so it makes sense to me that, like, that this is our progression and our development as a therapist to be more relaxed and less anxious. But I could totally picture that. Like, nope, nope. It says here in the book, this is the
Right.
way you have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were some trainers that were more dogmatic, I think, more rigid in how they wanted it done. And I appreciate that they held that side of the polarity, like that there's sort of like, well, it can be too loosey goosey and we lose the backbone of the dialogue, and then it can be too rigid on the other end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like
I can just picture it. I can totally picture it.
I
No.
know. But and that just had me thinking about it all the times I put negativity in the space that I was totally unaware of because I'm totally focused on them.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Our own need to have things right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember saying to when I was on the membership committee in the very beginning, and I was all excited and fired up, and somebody said something to me about something, and I said, yeah, one of my weaknesses is I can be very, very negative. I'm a really actually negative person. I remember them all going, what? Because they were not experiencing me that way because I was in my like enthusiastic, happy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I can go from one end to the other.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I call
pretty
it my grumpy brain. I
yeah,
definitely have a grumpy brain.
yeah. So it just made it made me more aware this week after hearing her, like of like, oh, and I noticed myself struggling with that a couple times. And
Yeah.
I just got quiet, so and the other thing you're saying that I think is so powerful and so simple, all of you are saying it in a different way, is like the more we keep them in dialogue, we just keep them in the dialogue. There is so much less risk of me messing it all up.
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt. Let's get t-shirts for the conference.
Hooray. Yeah.
No, it's true. It's so true because I have my own history and stories and things like that, that if I pollute their space with my thoughts about how things should be or whatever, then they can't find the answers together. Yeah. But of course, everything in our training says, no, it's all up to you, Leslie. It's all up to you, Michelle. You got to be the one to save these people. And you got to figure out what's wrong and have the answers. Yeah. And that's why when you really get to that place where you're like, wow, I really don't. In fact, I'm not supposed to have the answers.
Right.
Like how freeing that is for our nervous system.
Right.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Linda or Michael?
I have a little picture. I always use these gadgets. So I have this car. This is the dialogue car. I'm just responsible for getting them into the car, and it's that intelligence of the space. So I try to keep them in the car, because and I explain, if we don't get in this car, we can't go anywhere.
Oh, I love that. We can't get in the car. We can't go anywhere.
That's right. And I'm in the back seat and you're going to take turns driving.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. I love it. I love your cards, Linda. I think you should have those printed up.
I know, I should, right?
Make a little book of them, like
I know.
everything I
Because
always
you've got the heartbeat card too, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that
Yeah,
there?
that's right. Yeah, I got it.
Uh-huh.
You could do a little
Yeah.
thing, Linda, like entitle
know.
this little 10 things.
Linda isms.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
and say like everything you always wanted to know about Imago, you learned in Imago
Right.
kindergarten or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially when my clients
keep
are,
them in dialogue, keep them in the car.
yep. Clients are like, yeah, things have been up and down. And I was like, great, because you're living. Because when we look on the EKG, we see this. What does that mean? So they kind of calm down. They're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're just normalizing the trouble.
That's right.
That's kind of what I meant earlier when I said models and saying like I am here or whatever.
Mhm.
It's really helpful just to say I am here. Maps, just know where you are on the map.
That's it.
I love it. I love it. I love your cards, Linda.
That's it.
Well, as we're heading towards the end here, I'm going to add on page 194. This is the second paragraph. Therapeutically, Imago Dialogue is the intervention that helps partners connect through resonance and communicate through language about and beyond their differences, thus changing their interactive space, the space between, and simultaneously changing their intrapsychic space. Changing the space between them changes the space within them, which in turn changes the space between them.
It's a lovely loop. That's a card. That's a card.
Right.
And I think, I can't remember how Maureen Bryan says it. Linda, you've been working with her recently, so you might remember. She talks about how we create the space and then we are created out of the space. So, understanding that there's this powerful loop when I put safety in the space, when I put empathy in the space, I can receive the benefits of the space being safer. When I dump my criticisms, my complaints, my grumpy brain into the space, guess what I get back? A dangerous space, which only confirms my negative stories. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. This is the wrong person. La 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 la. Can I tell you a story about surfing? So we're surfing the other day, and Stephen goes, I realize I can't control the ocean, but I can control my board. And I'm like, whoa, that's really deep. We're like surfer dudes now, like deep. And I'm like, well, so what does that mean? Like, and he's like, so we're talking about, we're like, okay, so like the ocean would be our emotions, right? Like we can't choose if we're dysregulated or emotional or whatever, but we can choose our mindset about what we tell ourselves about that. And so I've been thinking a lot about, there's actually surf therapy conferences. And so I've been like working on my lecture that I would give at the speech therapy conference about like the neurobiology of surfing, because you have to control your mind to surf. Like I have to be happy. If I am stressed out or like, then my brain will go to my grumpy brain and it will like be like, hell no, I'm not getting up on that wave because that's scary. But if I'm happy, if I'm like can get into a different state, I can maneuver these intense emotions on the board. And so thinking about like the mindset that we bring into therapy or into our relationships about like choosing to be joyful versus my grumpy brain. So this is what I'm thinking a lot about. It's like, wait, what if I came to Stephen intentionally joyful for no reason? And then how that creates a space between us, and I am created out of that space. Working on it. It's just a work in progress.
I can see it now. I can see after this session, you just walking up to him and giving him a big hug and kiss.
That's right. That's right.
He's like, what happened with you?
No, he wouldn't even, he'd be like, he wouldn't care. He would be so happy. It's like a plant getting water. It's like, oh, I don't care what it used to be. I'm just glad the water's here. And I am like working on this. Like the daily appreciations are so important. Like intentionally giving him appreciations. But then I'm trying to do that not robotically. I'm actually trying to get into a state of joy before I give the appreciation. And I've learned from surfing that you can choose that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's wild.
Nice.
I got a new board too. I named her Pinky Tuscadero.
Ah, I saw her. I saw you and her.
Yes. Yes. She's I'm
I
cheating
assume
on Stephen with my board.
I assume it's a longboard.
It is. It's a 7-4.
I was just thinking that this is your new affair.
Exactly. It's a much safer affair. It's much safer than another human being. Yes. Well, anything you want to say to close? And then next month we're going to meet on the 17th. Hopefully that works on your calendars.
I will be on an airplane, I believe, coming back from India at that time.
Oh, Michael, that sounds amazing.
It's just double, yes, I won't be.
Okay,
Oh,
we'll miss you.
I'll land right before that. Oh well.
Okay, well, you never
12
know. Put it on your calendar because flights get delayed, or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
never know. We might get to see you. but that's the week before the conference.
I might have supervision with Maureen and I have a little group. We might be having supervision. Who knows?
Well, keep me
It's on the schedule.
posted, but that's when we'll meet. So 12 Eastern on the 17th.
Great.
And I think we'll see if we can start chapter 10, but we still could maybe do some on chapter 9. So
I think we could probably, well, I don't know, unless it's all just technical stuff, but still talking about the technical parts of dialogue is valuable.
I agree. Okay, well, we'll see you then, hopefully, and then hopefully we'll see Linda, I'll see you in Chicago. Leslie, Michael.
I'm in Chicago.
Okay, are you going to Chicago, Michael?
I am not.
Okay, we'll miss you.
Maybe another time. That would be
Okay. Well, you'll be recovering from India.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.